Hi, I will show you how to create those feathers you see in here. They are available in the hair tool baking scene, so you see you have different hair presets for baking. One of them is those feathers. And I will show how to create those from scratch. First, let me do the quick breakdown. But first, I will clean up the UI. Okay, so maybe now it should be visible and easy to see what is going on. So without lattice, we have something like that. And those hair strands are spawned from this mesh. If I show you in the solid view, this is how it looks. And I can disable mirror, disable subdivision. Then we have something like this. You see this colored edge is sharp edge. If I move this to the left and smooth out the mesh, it is basically subdivided plane. I will undo that and I model this plane into the feather-like shape and mark this edge as sharp, meaning hair strands will grow from this edge and they will loosely follow the edge loops like so. And let's enable mirror subdivision, and to spawn strands you can just use Ctrl-Shift-H, strands from grid, and that's basically it. Now you see we have a bunch of strands spawned, and instead of using flat profile I switch to round profile. Okay, so this is the basic setup. Let's go to the base mesh, and on this hair system we have two hair systems on this object. Green one is adding the most of the density, and then the red one, it is here mostly as target for clamps for the green system. So let's do the breakdown of the red system. I am spawning 19 strands. I can change density in here. I am randomizing spacing with this slider. So without randomization we have something like this, and uniform spacing is by default set to 1. If I set this to 0, we get more density on the root and tip. It is because the grid mesh edge loops were denser on the root and tips. But for feather I just set this to uniform. Okay, so then I added a bit of randomization like that. And next, the former align tilt. It is not doing anything right now, but let's enable roll strands. And roll strands, it is kinda bending the hair strands like that. So this is kinda how feathers works. Feathers do not go straight like that. They kinda bend into each other, something like this. And now if I disable align tilt, you see the roll direction is broken. I can change this roll direction from 0.5 to maybe 1, but you see one side is rolling in the wrong direction. If I set this to 0, then the left side is okay, but the right side is broken. And you cannot, no matter what kind of roll direction you set, one side won't work. It is a bit complicated to explain, but I will do this anyway. But this is a bit technical. So if you have curve like that, there is the tangent of the curve, and there is something called normal. So the normal vector will go around here and here. Normal will go for bumps that go to the right side, will go to the right. For bumps that go to the left, will go to left. Now this is important because for roll direction is kind of using this. So if we have the tangent, for example, in this direction, and normal in this direction, then we have maybe similar setup in here, tangent and normal. Now this is perfectly symmetrical, but the issue is that we are not using those vectors, but we are using the cross product of those. And for the cross product, you have to calculate the vector going from tangent to normal. And we have tangent to normal. Now the issue is that we are moving clockwise on the right and counterclockwise on the left. This will result in the cross product that will go to the top on the right and to the bottom on the left. And because of that, we will have two different roll rotations. So it is a bit technical, but the solution is to use actually the align tilt, which will flip this cross product kind of result. And I'm using this helper mesh to align the normal to this mesh normal. This kind of fixes the cross product. So if I set roll direction to 0.5, it just looks okay. Then we have second roll. Second roll is mostly for the roots because feathers kind of are spread out a tiny bit on the root, like so. And I use this kind of gradient mask to affect those strands. Then I applied a bit of noise, again using similar mask where mostly the hair roots, the bottom is affected. And lastly, I just taper strands with radius set. So this is the red hair system, and then I spawn green hair system. The setup in here is almost exactly the same, except there is extra clamp and extra trim deformers. So using strand generator, this time I am spawning and growing 200 of those strands. Previously it was just 20. And every other setting is mostly similar, so uniform point spacing and randomize tiny bit of randomization. Not too much because it doesn't look good. And on top of that, just like previously, I use align tilt, then roll. It will be easier to see if I actually taper the strands. So then without roll, with roll, maybe I could actually increase that. Then second roll for the beginning, bit of noise on the beginning, just like previously. And the first difference in these clamps. So you see those clamps are using the first hair system, the red one, to create those clamps around here. Without any input mask, you would get something like that. But then I added a bit of masking by vertex group, offset gain, tiny bit of randomization. And this is what we get. And lastly, it was still bit uniform, so I added trim to randomly cut some hair strands close to the bottom. So if I show you the mask, this is how it looks. And that is the whole setup. Let's recreate this from scratch. We'll use the plane and then scale this down like that. Scale this like so. And then remember to apply the scale. We'll go to edit mode, move this to the right. And let's extrude this part up, rotate it like so. I use the rotation around active element. Duplicate this one more time and rotate like this. Then I will scale everything to the 0 x-axis. You can model this tiny bit. Maybe let's add extra subdivision like this. Extra subdivision, maybe like this. And let's add maybe one more in here and in here. I can maybe add one extra loop on this edge to create this kind of roll-like effect directly on this grid guide mesh. But later we will use the roll effect anyway, roll deformer. So let's say it looks good enough. Now I will want to add mirror on top. And let's reduce this gap maybe, and I don't want to use merge in the mirror. So let's move everything closer together, and I will rotate it around something like this. So we have a wider bottom. And then I will add subdivision, and I do not want to round out some corners. So in the subdivision, let's use keep corners. And that's it. Now we can use Ctrl-Shift-H, strand from grid surface. It is complaining no edge marked as sharp. Let's fix that. I will select the loop on the bottom. Do not select this part. And in here I will use Ctrl-E, mark sharp. So now the hay strands can grow away from this sharp edge. Let's try again, Ctrl-Shift-H, strands from grid, and now it works. In the settings, I will switch profile from flat to round. Now the round profile doesn't use UVs, so I can remove UV region distribute in the formers. I will go to the generator. We can bump up density. Uniform spacing is set by default to 1, but I can enable a bit more randomization, like so. And you can always play with the randomization spacing seed. Okay, so this looks kinda okay. Let's maybe try, and this will be target for the clamps for the second system. So now after align tilt, let's add the roll. And as I showed you previously, no matter which roll direction I set, this just won't work unless we go to align tilt and align tilt to this object normal. So let's use custom object, pick this plane, and now in the roll strands, I remember that we have set roll to +0.5 in this case. Now the roll looks okay. This is maybe a bit too low poly, so in the strand generator I will bump up subdivision steps to 3. Let's increase the roll radius. So the roll radius, smaller radius gives a result like this. If I increase roll radius, we get bigger circle. So this looks okay. And maybe let's add trim, taper with the radius set, deformer like that. If you want to adjust the taper, just change the influence range. And okay, let's say it looks good enough, except I do not want this roll, I do not want to roll on the top. Maybe let's change the spacing seed again. Okay, so you see in here this rolls to the left side. I want to mask this effect on the roll, except there is no easy way. We have to create just custom vertex group mask for this. I will mask this factor input. So let's create vertex group in here, new one, call this tip mask, and initialize this maybe to 1, so that currently when I apply this mask nothing changed, because everything is set to 1. But we can edit now vertex group, with this brush icon. And I can enable the vertex selection, and I could select the top loop in the top. However, I cannot see anything. It is annoying, but subdivision is kind of breaking the vertex masking in the weight paint mode. So I have to disable subdivision modifier. And now you see I am able to select this top loop. And I will set this to 0. In my case, I am using weight paint tools add-on. You can enable subdivisions, accept and exit the weight paint, and now you see the mask is applied correctly, and we are masking out the roll effect on the top. Now I want to add second roll to roll the root on kinda this way. So I want this kinda spread out effect. So let's add second roll. Actually, the easiest way will be to copy this first roll and paste as new. And I will flip direction from +0.5 to -0.5, something like this. Then increase roll length, increase radius, and I like this part. I just have to mask out the top. So instead of using this tip mask, I will remove this vertex group, create new, hold gradient, and let's initialize this with 0. And now let's go to edit mode. I will select all the vertices, or you can just remove the vertex masking like that. Set weight to 1, and I will paint vertex group like this one. And you see now this is applied to the second roll. I will add remap mask on top of the gradient mask, and if I visualize the masking, I want to move this gradient to the bottom. So I will increase from a mean parameter. Something like this looks okay. I just wanted to show you something. If I reduce this from a mean, we get ugly results in some places. Now the hair disappeared because after I enabled mask, we switched to Eevee. Then in the Eevee viewport we can preview the mask, but when I exit the mask preview, then we cannot see the strands in the Eevee mode because I already mentioned that the round profile doesn't support UVs, and default hair materials just doesn't work with hair cards without UV. So instead you could use other material. We are in the baking scene, so we can use one of the baking material presets. In my case, I will just switch to the root mask, which is kind of this gradient. Same gradient is applied on the left. So this will be used for now in the Eevee viewport for previewing of the hair cards. So anyway, I wanted to show you that sometimes you may get like ugly interpolation when you get two rolls. And the reason is that you can get this ugly interpolation. I think it is happening because we have kind of like one roll that goes to the top, and then we want to flip the roll to the bottom. So then I am masking between those two, and the strand is kind of interpolated to the middle. So it goes kind of to the bottom, then rolls slightly to the top, and this is the ugly result we get. So for example, in here. And the fix for that is, instead of masking factor, you could copy those masks from the factor input and paste them on the roll length. And if I now remove the mask from the factor, you see you have cleaner result. I could adjust maybe this parameter, but you see it is clean, better looking than before. So this is the workaround for this issue. Now I want maybe tiny bit of noise on the roots in the bottom. So let's add noise. This is the noise, and I am not interested in uniform noise. So I will set this amplitude to 0, and I just want per strand noise, meaning this will deform each strand in the unique way. But I want to reduce this per strand amplitude. Something like this looks okay. And I want to remove this from the top. So I will mask the per strand noise with the gradient vertex group we just created previously. Then let's add remap and let's preview it. So I want to move this gradient to the bottom. So let's play with the remap mask. So now this works okay. And let's see, without noise, with noise. So there is a small difference, but let's say it's good enough. So we created the red hair system. This will be target for the second system, for target for clamps effect. So now let's add the green system. We could use add strand generator, strands from grid, but then you would have to recreate the whole setup. Instead, I will just copy this whole hair system and then paste as new. Now, if I change any option and setting, let's say increase strand count, you do not see the new strands. So what is going on? Well, the new strands are placed exactly on top of the old strands, and on top of that, they also share exactly the same settings. You can see number 2, meaning 2 hair systems are using exactly the same setup. If you click this number 2, This will make the hair system unique. Just press OK. Now you see each hair system is unique because we have number 1 next to them. So only one hair system is using current settings. Let's make this green. And if I visualize hair system colors, now if I bump up strand count, you see those strands are no longer overlapping on top of each other. So I can bump up density to 190. And in the green system, I do not want to show the red ones. To remove the red strands, I would have to go to the green system, strand generator, and in the parent section, I would have to press remove parent strands. But I did not set child-parent relation between green and red system. So I will do this now. For the red system, I will assign red tag, R tag, and in the green system, for the parent column, I will use this R tag. So now green system is child of the red one, meaning in the strand generator for the green system, I can, for example, use interpolation, but I already explained that this doesn't look too good in this case, but I can use remove parent strands. So if I show you, we no longer see the red strands. Okay, I will remove all the other deformers, and maybe let's reduce randomization in spacing to around like 15%. And I think the hair thickness is a bit much. So let's reduce width and cut this by 2. Now this looks okay. I will enable taper, and then enable align tilt, enable roll strands. And I think the roll is a bit strong in here. So let's increase roll radius to something like this. Then enable second roll. I do not like this roll, so let's tweak the remap mask. We'll increase that. So I guess this value looks mostly okay. And then enable noise. I do not like how this noise kicks in too fast. I want the first half to be kind of flat and then get tiny bit of noise. So in the noise, I can change this influence range. If I increase that, you see we are masking out the noise effect from the roots. The way it works, it is just gradient, and in the black parts we are removing out the noise. If I increase influence range, you see this got darker, meaning we just removed tiny bit of amplitude from the first part of the hair strand. And that's the whole setup almost. After noise, I will just add clamps. Let's increase influence range to change the clamps look. Now we have two issues. This doesn't look good, and I do not want clamps on the top. Masking out the top is easy. Just add vertex group mask, gradient, that's it. Maybe you could add remap mask on top and increase this slightly like this. Now the second part, this is more complicated to explain, but in general we have those red guides. And green strands are going like to the top, and then clamp effect kicks in, so it bends toward the red strand. So this goes like that, and then clamps overtakes the strand, and this is why we get this ugly bending. The workaround I found out was to just remove clamps effect from the first part on the bottom. So I will have to create a different kind of gradient for the clamp effect. Okay, so let's go to this mesh. In the vertex groups, I will select duplicate vertex group, and let's call this clamp mask. Go to white paint, use vertex masking, and we have to remove and disable the subdivision for now, so that I can select the bottom part. Now I want to create a tighter gradient on the bottom, so actually I will add extra loop in the bottom. Now in the weight paint, I will select the bottom part, and let's set this to 0. And okay, let's go with the current setup with this kind of mask. Let's apply this new mask to the clamps. So clamp mask. You see it looks kinda better. So we are almost there. Now I will add trim. And trim, we can trim roots by increasing this value. So this remove the first half of the strand, which is not what we want. There is trim trip. So if I reduce this mask to 0.5, this means basically we cut 50% of the second half of the strand. Now let's reset this to value of 1, and I will add vertex group gradient mask. And the effect is almost what we wanted, except inverted. It is because the vertex group has small values on the top and it cut everything. So I want to invert this with this button. Now we cut the bottom part mostly. On top of that I will add offset gain mask, and I want sharper transition, so I will apply higher gain value and then add positive offset like this. And I want to get this more randomized on the bottom, so let's add randomize mask. And it looks super ugly. So what is going on? Well, without randomization, we got value of mask in this place around 1.0, meaning we are not trimming anything in this part. For this strand, for example, currently without randomization, we get maybe around mask value of 0.5. This means we cut like 50% of the strand. Now on top we add randomization, so we are adding or subtracting some random delta R value. In here it's the same, we are adding or subtracting some delta random 2 value. So maybe we get random R1 and here random R2. Now this is a bit convoluted to explain, but it's not that hard. When I add randomization, basically some strands in here got shorter. So what is going on in here? Well, basically we got mask of 0.1 and then we randomly maybe got minus 0.5. This results in the final mask and trim value of 0.5 in here. So that's why the strand got cut in half. And the workaround for fixing this would be just to remove option to subtract random delta R value in here. And this is what this less than sign does. Now we want subtract delta R from the current value. We can only add some delta random value. And the thing is, if we have mask value 0.1 and add delta anything, then it will be clamped to 1 anyway. So this is why the top part is now not affected at all, because we just keep this everywhere value mask of 1 everywhere on top. However, on the bottom we are now having value 0.5 and we are adding some random delta value. So maybe we are adding plus 0.1 or plus 0.2. So that's why this randomization is now affecting the bottom part. So without randomization, with randomization, I may want to... So this is a bit of the math, but maybe I want to reduce this amplitude slightly, play with the settings, but now this is what we got without randomization, with randomization. And that's the whole setup. I can maybe move this to the right. And this is the new feather. The really last step would be to maybe reduce width on the left and add a bit of bending. I would use the lattice deformer for that. In the Blender 5.0, there is this lattice deform selected, but it did not wrap the lattice around the selected object. What is going on? So the hair system is attached to curve object, and I guess lattice doesn't like curve objects. So we will use Ctrl-Shift-H, transfer hair system to empty mesh. Visually nothing changed, but you see active object is now mesh type. And if I use lattice deform selected now, you see the lattice wrapped around the feather. Okay. I can reduce the number of subdivision in the z-axis to 1, add extra subdivision in the x-axis, and then add extra 2 subdivisions in the y-axis. So we have 4 subdivisions now. And that's it. I can go to the edit lattice mode, move this around, and get this kind of result. And that's the whole process. For the stem, I would just add the Bezier curve, add tiny bit of bevel to it, maybe not that much, and then I would just move this around the feather. Something like this would work. Then add S to scale the ending. And that is mostly the whole setup for this kind of feather. So I hope you like this tutorial, and see ya.